It's Monday, it's 8 p.m, it's a Monday assessment.
Your people gather round your town when things are on the up or things are falling down. Celebrate the hard times, stay passionate through the lows, find strength in the chaos, no matter which way it goes. It's not easy being blue. Heartbreak comes in many ways, the hardest times, the darkest days, but all these things get washed away with us, with us. The highs might not come every day, but memories do, and memories stay. Enjoy that moment anyway with us, with us, with us. It's not easy being blue. It's not easy being blue.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Monday Assessment, brought to you by The View from the Medway Fancast. Sponsored by Snodhurst Used Cars and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and in partnership with Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast Network. This week we welcome managerless Barrow to Priestfield. After a near-perfect first half, the second half turned into a bit of a mess. We will look into what went right and what went wrong. Let's see who is on the panel tonight.
Evening all. I was going to do something, but due to technical issues and me having to be on my phone, I can't do it. But I thought I'd just do a little ode to Chris, because he wanted a drummer. So I'm back.
And we've missed you, mate. So tonight we are joined by, as you can see, Warren is back. We are joined by Cliff, and we are joined by my dad, Colin, who is joining the show for the first time tonight. How are we all doing?
Yeah, we're all good, mate.
Cool. So, as always, we will start the show by looking at who the blurred player is. As always, don't throw out any guesses, save them to the end. So this player has played for, obviously, Gillingham, Hartlepool, Bolton Wanderers, Nottingham Forest and Grimsby Town. Save your thoughts
If
for
you
later.
don't get that one, you're not a Gills fan.
Obviously, if you're watching, send in your guesses and we as a panel will discuss who we think it is later. I will now hand you across to Warren for the Views News.
Yeah. Evening, ladies and gents. Views News this week was, there's not much news coming out of the football club, but the first bit of news that I want to discuss is Dobbo's 700th appearance on the bench as either assistant or the top man in when he replaces Gareth. I'm going to come to Colin first because he's a new guy, so we'll put him straight on the spot. Colin, 700 appearances on the bench. Now, you're of the age and ilk of myself where players used to make 300 appearances before before the football club used to realise they was crap. So what do you think of Dobbo's 700th appearance on the bench or as an assistant manager?
First of all, can I say hello to everyone? Thank you very much for inviting me on the podcast. I've been looking forward to today. 700 games, that my reckoning, that must be 14 to 15 years of football, mainly at the lower levels. So I would say that's an achievement in anyone's circumstance, because usually they've disappeared after that amount of time. They've been sacked so many times, left clubs for various reasons. So, yeah, it is an achievement. I can't say I know a lot about the guy. yeah, it would have been. I'd preferred it if it had been at Gillingham. Then it has shown a bit of consistency. But yeah, well done to the guy. 700. He's made a living out of football, and I wish I could say the same.
Yeah, and I think we're all like that. We'd all have loved a career in football. So, David, what do you think's important about a number 2?
Stability, really. I think they've obviously got to be thinking along the same lines as the number 1. There's got to be a lot of trust there, and I think that's where with Dobbo, Gareth's got 100% trust in the guy, and obviously with what Gareth's gone through recently with his operation, he knew that he had left the club with someone that he had 100% trust in, and when you look at the amount of games they've probably shared of that 700 together. I think it shows that he's obviously very trusted by the number 1s he's worked with. Yeah. And as my old man said, it's a long time in football. I'll
go to you, Cliff. Obviously 700 games, and you're quite a younger than us football fan. What in today's game, what do you think 700 appearances, whether playing or being on the bench, actually means?
Well, I mean, first of all, that's a brilliant intro, and I love that, and I'll come every week just to hear, just to be called young. But it's not something you see in today's game, where patience is very short and memories are even shorter. You just don't see tenures of that length. Particularly towards the upper side of the end of the game. But no, it's a cracking achievement. To have hit that 700.
Yeah. So I'll go on to players returning. Are you still with me, guys?
Yeah, still there.
Yeah, good. So players returning slowly now. One of my biggest bugbears is being told a load of old ball, and the noise coming from the football club over the last couple of weeks is he's nearly ready, they're nearly ready, and we still don't see sight nor sound of them. We're told that Masterson and Williams are back on the grass. Now, if they're smoking that shit, then they're never going to be playing, are they? So I'll come to you, Cliff, first. Why do you think we put these statements out about players returning and we don't see sight or sound of them for weeks?
It's a tricky one, because it's that balance of wanting to put some good news out, but balancing it with what the reality might be, and the reality might be that you have one training session and you watch a guy and you think, he's doing well, he's recovering, it'll be all right for the weekend, and then something could happen the next day and create a setback. So it's a tricky balance of wanting to obviously keep us as fans updated, but having to realise that, especially with professional athletes, stuff can change day to day when you're coming back from injuries, especially some of the ones that our guys have had.
Yeah, I'll come to you, David. What players have disappointed you in not getting back as quickly as it's been said in the press?
I think the obvious one is Ewan Williams, who we've not seen at all. I don't know what's been going on there. That he's had a setback and again vanished. But sometimes with me, it's the ones that disappear out of nowhere. So your Johnny Smith, just kind of really key player for us. Quite a big signing from the division above. Slowly started to get into the team, was putting some performances together, and then vanished. And I see from Gareth that he's due back and probably going to be in the squad this weekend. So it'd be interesting to see if that happens. But and again, it sounds like I'm reeling them all off. But obviously, the way we've been defending recently, obviously we want Connor Masterson back as quickly as we can. And again, like you said, we've been told he's been on the grass for quite a while. So whether they're taking their time with him and giving him as much time to get ready before they bring him back, especially with Christmas coming up when the games are going to be coming thick and fast, they don't want to rush him back. But for me, Smith and Masterson are the two that I would like to get back.
Yeah, totally agree. Colin, I'll come to you, and I apologise for coming to you with all the old-timer questions, but it's good that I'm not the oldest on the show this week. Back in the day, we never used to have the amount of injuries that we have now in football. Why do you think that is?
I think the players were made of sterner stuff. I really do believe that. I'm going to just go off on a slight tangent because I watched the programme on Saturday morning, Big Match Revisited, and I spoke to Dave about one of the players, and it's related to injuries, illness. And you'll remember a bloke called Mike Doyle.
Yeah,
Manchester City. Well, the commentary of the game, and this was in 1976. And Brian Moore was doing a commentary, and during it, and I actually had to rewind it to make sure I'd actually heard what he said. And this was a Saturday game, 3:00, like they all was in those days. And he said Mike Doyle, who came on Thursday, came down with German measles. And here he is on a Saturday playing football. And I actually had to rewind it. So, and it just goes to proving, I know a lot of these guys played with injections and they're all arthritic now and what have you. But I really do think they were made of sterner stuff. And they didn't. I think these players must hurt themselves rolling around when they've fallen over. It's as simple as that. I just don't think they've got the mentality sometimes to want to play at some of them. And it's not singling out Gillingham players or anyone. Is that I just don't think they fancy it sometimes. You know, they get long contracts. They're very well paid. Simple as that, really.
I mean, for me, the reason why I asked that question, Colin, was probably, if you watched any of the football over the weekend, especially the Burnley-Fulham game, right, in particular, no wonder these footballers nowadays get flu. Heated blankets as subs on the bench is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, The fact that they're not dressed and ready to play at a moment's notice really cheeses me off somewhat. Yeah. But electric blankets, right, or heated blankets on the bench as a sub, I think it's absolutely disgraceful. No wonder our players are like made of a little bit of.
Totally
they are. Yeah, it's just tin. So I just wonder sometimes where we're going in football with some of our players. I think they're too namby-pambied, and that's why they have these injuries for longer than whatever. If you told these players, I bet you, if you told these players, right, if they didn't declare themselves fit for a Saturday, they weren't getting paid, I bet they'd soon get back from their injury woes.
I can understand some of their views. They're on long contracts now, or contracts are coming to an end, and they're thinking the last thing I want to do is get injured in April if their contract runs out in June and they've been told they're not getting a new one. I can perhaps understand them not wanting to play, but on the whole, it just. Well, I only had one substitute when I was a kid watching football, and whereas now they're on and off, and perhaps they warm up too much as well. They're always running up and down the touchline. That never happened in the old days either. So
no, exactly, mate. bring back the cold wet sponge. That'll get players moving and up and running.
I said worse things have been said than that. So.
Yeah. So I'll move on, and I want to ask a real serious question. There's been a big difference, chalk and cheese, between our performances in August and September and results to October and November, and obviously at the beginning of December. So I'd like to ask all of you, right, What do you think the difference is from August and September to October and November? And I'm going to start with you, Cliff.
It's a tough one to kind of pin a specific reason. But if you look at, I guess if you just look at the pattern over the last 2 seasons, we've come out the gate flying. We've had a cracking start to the season, and then we've inexplicably lost a home game that we should have, that we should have walked. This season it was Harrogate. Last season it was a Tuesday night and Grimsby came down, and we've not recovered from that. Like we've not bounced back the following week and kind of stood up and said, right, no, that's it. We're turning the page and moving on and putting in a performance. This season we then went up to MK Dons and got absolutely, played off the park. I can't remember who we followed up with against after Grimsby last year, but yeah, that kind of seemed to be the trigger point of both poor periods and poor runs. So I don't know whether it's is it like a mental challenge thing? Once we've lost that game, like getting the players back up again. Is it we just struggle in terms of resilience and picking ourselves up? But yeah, there definitely seems to be, certainly over the last 2 years, that trigger where we've lost a game at home that we should have won. We've spiraled afterwards.
Yeah, I'll come to you, Colin, next. What do you think the biggest difference between August and September and October and November have been?
Quite simply, the final result. I don't think overall the performances have dropped off. When they had the good run, they was never turning teams over. It was always a 1-goal victory or lots of draws. Games where 1 goal would have changed the whole perspective. And now, instead of having 1-goal wins and a draw, we're having a draw and 1-goal defeats. It's literally, I think, is as simple as that. I think since Ainsworth's been here, I think the performances are slightly better. The team is better to watch. We have more possession. We look like we're more liable to attack, more chances. But it's literally, they were treading, in my mind, during that long unbeaten run, a fine line between getting a result and not getting a result. There wasn't 2-0, 3-1s in there. They were all 1-0, 2-1. And all it is that little bit of luck. And it's just turned. I don't really think there's that much in what the team are putting out as a performance-wise. It literally is. I know it sounds obvious, but it's just the final result. The performances, I think, at whatever level, are still so relatively the same. It's just that difference of 1 goal in a game.
Yeah, David, I'll come to you. What do you think the biggest difference between August and September and October and November is?
For me, mentality and pressure. I think August and September, there's no pressure in the early days of the season, so that they play a bit free, and then they have a good start, and they can't deal with the pressure of being near the top of the league. It's happened 2 or 3 years in a row, and this has happened. And I think I just saw a message go past, which was a good point. We got worked out very quickly by teams in the division that if you stop a couple of our players, because we don't have the most creative team, so if you can stop Hutton getting down the right and you can get in and around Dak, you've kind of stopped us, really. The midfield players are quite defensive, so they're not going to be that creative. So if you can shut out the 1 to 2 creative type players within our team, you've kind of stopped us. And it took 3 or 4 games for teams to do that, and since then we've struggled.
Right, so I've done a little bit of homework, right? Would you agree Chesterfield at home was our best performance of the season?
Results-wise, yes, I'd say.
Yeah. Result-wise, if I remember it correctly, we got that one extremely lucky penalty and another contentious one in that game. But that's a fine line, isn't it?
Yeah. I actually thought it was a really good performance, the Chesterfield game. Now, I was looking at the team for the Chesterfield game compared to the team for Saturday. And apart from Morris and Turner being different, we had Hutton at right back. We had Smith, Gow and McKenzie as centre-backs. And the only change there for Saturday was Akamia. We had Sereno at left back. And Rowe came on for Sereno after whatever minute. We had Williams, Coleman and Little in midfield. And obviously, if you put Dak in instead of Williams, who deserves to be in the side ahead of Williams, that's an improvement. And then we had Nevitt and Andrews up front. And you take Andrews out and you've got McCleary. So it's not too much of a change from that game to Saturday's game. And for me, Gareth hit the nail on the head, and it's a nail that I've been smashing into the bits of wood. And bearing in mind, I'm crap at DIY, right? I've been telling people for ages and ages, and Dave will testify about getting in a leader, a proper leader. Now, in the summer, I would have gone out and got Aidan Flint. Although his legs might have gone a bit, I think he would have led us to promotion this year. We didn't. And if you take the Barrow game, and I don't want to talk too much about it, but the guy Williams for Barrow, their captain, run the game second half. He was crap. But what he was hard. He led by example, and he pushed his team forward. And we need players like that. These, to me, over 3 years, we've got rid of Coleman, we've got rid of Bonner, we've got rid of Clements, we've got rid of Harris. All these teams over the last 3 years have done exactly the same thing. And I think most of them players that are there are just mentally not tough enough. Now, I know when David comes onto the game, I'll say a bit more. But I think these players need to toughen up. I really do. And if you're not going to toughen up, go. So that's it from me. So I'll hand you back over to David.
Thank you very much. We will get on to the lineups. So we started with Jake Turner in goal. We had a back five of Hutton, Akimoa, McKenzie, Gale and Rowe. Had a midfield two of Little and Coleman. We had Daki in the 10. And we had McCleary and Nevitt up front. So I'll start with you, Warren. Obviously, we're just going to discuss the lineups. When you saw the team sheet come out, was there any surprises? Because obviously there was only the one change from the week before. Were you expecting more?
No, not really. All our injuries, players coming back from injuries, a few people having a sniffle. Right, I didn't expect too many changes. But if you look at that team, they should have beaten Barrow by a country mile. So I was glad to see Nevitt back up front instead of Palmer Holden. For me, Palmer Holden doesn't do anything for us at all. At least Nevitt works hard, tries hard, and although he had that glaring miss, which I'm sure you'll remind me about, David.
Me?
He made us work up front. He got in some really good areas, and he drove first half. Second half, he got starved of the ball. But for the team, I couldn't see any other changes that Gareth could have made, to be honest.
And Cliff, I'll come to you. Your thoughts on the lineup? Was there any changes you would have made formation-wise? Were you surprised that Rowe kept his position at left back?
Rowe's an interesting one for me. He's has flashes of brilliance, and then equally kind of flashes of not doing not so well. But again, kind of looking at who we've got available and who's on the bench and stuff. I think he's probably the best option we had to put out there, and he repaid Gareth with his goal. I quite like when I looked at it. I quite like seeing having kind of Hutton and then McCleary kind of being able to kind of work together up that right hand side. I think that worked really well. But yeah, I think looking at that, the front three we had there between McCleary, Dak and Nevitt. I think it's always going to be a strong attack in front. So it's good to see there.
And Colin, I'll come to you. What were your thoughts on the starting lineup? And were you happy to see Akamoa keep his place? And what were your thoughts on Nevitt replacing Palmer Holden up front?
I was 100% happy with Akamoa. I think he's a proper footballer. And I think we should do everything in our power to make sure that guy signs for us in the next 6 months. The chances are Masterson's going to leave at the end of this season. No one knows what's going to happen with Gale. This kid's a proper footballer, and I'd love to see him long term at the Gills. As for the rest of it, Rowe, I can't understand at left wing back. It's not fair on the player. He's not a defensive player. We saw at Colchester, he got a booking in the first 20 minutes. He got turned on the halfway line, chased back, tripped someone up, and he was on a yellow card. Now, for most defenders, that would be a concern, but because he doesn't really defend, it wasn't a problem. But it just shows you his lack of defensive abilities. And again, I'll go back to the MK Dons game, and it just exposed Ogie throughout that game. And again in this game, I felt Gale was playing left back more than the left hand side of a central three. I don't understand playing him, especially when he's replacing one of our leading goal scorers in Max Clark, and so our goal threat goes down when he's not on the pitch. And sorry, Warren, but Nevitt, Palmer Holden's a much better player. His goal scoring output is most probably on a par with Nevitt. He's 7 years younger. He's just signed for the club. Nevitt's 29. He's going to be 30 next season. Palmer Holden's a better player and offers more to the team. He knows that.
Absolutely not.
Huh?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, he's a better player. Quite simply,
Absolutely not.
Yeah. I've proved something, and I've actually written it down now. 53 appearances, 4 goals. 55 appearances, 5 goals. 68 appearances, 6 goals. Now, one of those is a forward, and the other 2 are defenders. And that shows us out compared to 2 of our defenders. It's just not there. When we say we want to sign a 20-goal striker, we can't even find a 10-goal striker for the last 4 or 5 years. And to be honest, at the moment, it doesn't matter who plays up front because none of them score goals. Now, that's not criticising the players. That's criticising the recruitment of the players. No, I can't believe any club can go 4 years bringing player after player and not find someone that can just score 10 or 12 goals. And I think he's playing slightly above his level, in all honesty. But again, he's not going to turn down a 2-3 year contract. So the criticism isn't really him. It's the recruitment of players like him. And I just think Palmer Holden's young. He needs a run. And I think we need to get better players serving our centre forwards as well.
All right, I'll knock that back to you then, Colin. Right?
Yeah.
In the time that Palmer Holden come on, what one thing did he do differently to Nevitt that was better than Nevitt?
He must not a lot, because in the second half he was a dire side.
It was nothing, absolutely nothing. This is why Nevitt's better. When and you touched on it, Colin. Colin, you touched on it, right? About our strikers that we've signed not scoring enough goals. Now, if you don't feed your strikers, they're never going to score goals.
No.
First half, we gave Nevitt the ball in the right areas, but within a running 5 yards, and he terrorised the Barrow defence. We stopped that second half. We kept on passing, and I agree with you on the first half with Akamia, right? He looked prime Beckenbauer that first half. Second half, he looked like a little donkey in the Christmas nativity play, because I thought it was rubbish second half.
It's only his second or third league start, isn't it?
I agree. I think there's a footballer there, and I agree with you. I think there is a footballer there, and I would sign him, because I think he's better than potentially Smith and Gale.
Yeah, I would say that, but I was too scared to offend the rest of the Gills supporters to say he was better than Gale. So
I'm never scared of offending anyone, mate.
I love.
Shall we move on to the game?
If we must, yeah.
So I think we should try. I think we've got to break this down into two halves. Shock horror being a football match, because they were so different. The first half to the second half. So, Cliff, I'll come to you first. So we'll discuss the first half. Obviously, in my opinion, for the first 5 to 10 minutes, I don't think we really got into the game. But then after that, I thought we were in cruise control for the remainder of the game, and deserved to be 2-0 up. Should have been more clear by half time. Bar obviously Nevitt's miss, and the goalkeeper made a really good save from McCleary. What were your thoughts on the first half, and why were we so good for large portions of that half?
So I agree. I think it took us about a good kind of 5, 6, 7 minutes to really kind of settle down and get into it. I think even kind of from the off, they kind of came at us with a couple of crosses. But I think once we settled into the game and we started putting the game plan in place, I think we controlled it well. We push in. Hutton and Rowe pushing up high, pushing their wing backs back. Didn't give them a chance to really get a hold of the game or really kind of get any kind of control. They were very much forced to react to what we were doing, and when we were in those kind of high and wide places, be it Rowe on one side or Hutton and then McCleary on the other, we did. We created chances. You talk about Nevitt working hard. When he kind of set up the own goal, the first own goal. That was just because he just purely did not give up on that ball he was chasing down that right side and put it into the danger area when it's there. You've always got a chance. So yeah, I think that was kind of key to the first half performance. It was getting the wing backs up high and wide, pushing their wide players back and just not giving them a chance to really get a hold of the game.
And Warren, I come to you for your thoughts on the first half. Again, what did we do so well in that first half? And could you give your thoughts on Aaron Rowe's goal in particular?
Right, so first half, I thought we moved the ball quicker. We created space. We got Dak on the ball as much as possible. And when he's playing in that sort of quarterback role in midfield, and he's moving the ball around at pace and with good accuracy, we looked a lot better. It allowed people getting into spaces, and it allowed Rowe to get a little bit further up the field because Barrow were on the back foot. The Aaron Rowe goal, lovely little bit of skill, left the defender for dead. We all know he can do it, but he doesn't do it consistently enough. And this is what you can say about the whole of this Gillingham team. They don't do things consistently enough. And I just felt that Rowe was a threat, but because he doesn't play wing back that often, he didn't know whether he should be staying back and defending or going forward. But when we got him forward, I thought he created stuff. He looked dangerous. The second half, we didn't do it.
Colin, I'll come to you. Your thoughts on the first half performance, and what did you make of the McCleary-Nevitt partnership up front? Because in my opinion, I thought McCleary showed all our centre forwards how to play like a centre forward in the first half.
Yeah, I wasn't. It didn't get me excited, his signing. I must admit, when he came to Gills, 38-year-old. I must admit, I think that's not looking in the future enough. But on Saturday, I thought he had his best game. He did look dangerous. He looked more dangerous, I thought, when he come closer to the centre of the field than he did wide. And to agree with Warren about Rowe, that the guy is not a wing back. Not a wing back. His best work is done in the opposition's half. Don't ask players like that to defend. You saw what he could do. He's one of those players who should be told, don't go in our half during a game. The closest to our goal is the halfway line. I just thought Barrow didn't look a particularly good side. And you joked during the game when we were 2-0 up. You said at 80 minutes we'll be hanging on at 2-1. And it was actually worse than that. But I thought Gills just looked a good side. Dak I thought was outstanding. That's the closest he's looked to the Dak of old. The only problem with Dak when he plays like that is none of the other players are good enough for him. And I think he does tend to give the ball away purely because our players aren't thinking along the same lines as him. Credit to Nevitt as well. I think he was outstanding for the goal. When I looked it back on the TV, it looked better than they actually did when we were there. He put a lot of hard work to get that goal. The Rose goal was outstanding. He should do so much. He's a talented lad. He should do a lot more of that. Why give him defensive duties? I just don't understand it. And apart from that, I wasn't particularly happy playing a team near the bottom of the table with a 5-man defence and 2 older midfielders in front of it. That would be my concern. I think we should go for it a little bit more, be a little bit more attacking when sides like that come down to us. Simple as that. Because the problem is, Coleman isn't one of the best carriers of a ball that I've seen, and I don't think Little is either, to be totally honest. Dak runs with the ball, and it's not what the fans want to see. Players running with the ball. Rowe getting the ball wide, running at defenders. McCleary getting the ball, running at defenders. Don't see enough of it at Gillingham, unfortunately. But the first half, I thought it was great. And I haven't worked out how Nevitt missed that goal yet. It doesn't seem possible that you could put that wide from where it was. And I don't know. Perhaps he's just not a goal scorer, a natural goal scorer.
And then, unfortunately for us, the ref...
I tried to wind Warren up, but he's not biting.
Not biting yet, no. And then... Chris is obviously watching, enjoying the fact that I get to call my dad by his name. And then, unfortunately for us, the ref blew the half-time whistle. And I'm sure at half-time, Gareth, I think he came out after the game, and it was the first time I actually saw him look annoyed that his messages weren't listened to. And it's probably, in hindsight now, looking back, I think this could be good for him, that he's seen what happened in the second half and he'll work towards making sure that never happens. But Warren, I'll come to you first. I'm not going to ask you any particular question on the second half. I just want you to talk freely and go with what you think happened and why you think it happened.
Well, first of all, I spoke to Chris at half-time while we was having a beer. And I said, Barrow were the worst side I've seen at Gillingham this season. Right? At the end of the game, I was saying Gillingham were the worst side I've seen at Gillingham this season. Because we capitulated. We literally just sat back. We stopped passing the ball. We stopped moving. We stopped trying to work our wing-backs into good areas. We didn't really... show anything. I thought Gareth actually needs to put his hand up and take some of the blame because I thought his 2 subs were poor. Taking Dak off unless Dak was injured and we wanted to protect him. I thought taking Dak off was poor because up until that point it was the main focal point in our team. when we brought Palmer Holden on to play alongside Nevitt and took McCleary off, we extinguished any spark up front. And honestly, we brought Johnny Williams on. Why? I just don't get it. He doesn't contribute anything apart from eating a bit of dirt every now and again. I'm sorry. Some of these players really need to look at themselves, and if Gareth told them to go out, get on the front foot again after half time, and they didn't, then they should pay the price. I would like to put out a question to all three panelists, right? And I know we was talking about Sam Gale. Do you think Sam Gale needs a break? Bearing in mind he's 19. Over the last year, he's played a lot of football. Do you think it's time for him just to have a couple of weeks break? Tell him to go on holiday somewhere, get your feet up, continue with your running and whatever to keep fit, but go and have a bit of R&R on a beach somewhere hot like Dubai or wherever footballers go now, and just give him a little bit of a break. What do you three think?
I don't think we can afford to. In my opinion, he's the one player I wouldn't be moving around. He's the one that they're moving to cover other people at the moment. So he's normally the right of the three centre-backs, and recently he's been the left of the three, and it probably doesn't sound like a lot to many people, but from moving 10, 15 yards the other way can completely throw what you're used to seeing. So we're now not getting the best of Sam Gale because he's having to be played out of position when I think they should be moving other players that aren't as important as him to out of position. But I think that goes to show how important he is and trusted that they're moving him.
Yeah, I get that, but sometimes you've got to look after young players. Playing them too much too soon, for me, you don't want to kill him. And I just think he looks a little bit leggy on Saturday. Cliff.
Yeah, I think I agree with the sentiment. You know, he's been, you know, barring his suspension, you know, he's there week in, week out. You know, he's consistent and solid, and you know, he's one of our better players. And you kind of see the amount of work and passion he puts into every single game. I don't think we've got the luxury of being able to rest him at the moment. Certainly not until, you know, at least until Masterson is back in and up to full speed. But yeah, no, I agree with the sentiment. You know, we do need to take care of him. Do need to look after him. You know, he's just committed, you know, the next couple of years to us. But yeah, I just don't think we've unfortunately got the luxury at the moment. I agree with what you're saying, Dave, about the about him kind of being out of position. You know, there were huge chunks of the game on Saturday where he looked like he was playing left back, and it's uncomfortable. You say it may only be 10, 15 yards, but when you're used to having to, you know, defend the touchline on one side, and all of a sudden you flipped around and trying to do it the other way, you know, it does make a difference if you're not doing that all the time and you're not comfortable. So yeah, I think it's a difficult one. It obviously shows, you know, the level of trust that Gareth has in him, in that he's moving about and sticking all his other places, you know, all the other positions. But he's been exposed a bit by being played out of position, both out of position and also with someone who is also playing out of their natural position in row, kind of on that left hand side at the moment as well.
Can I say, when you was talking about the second half, I thought the main problem was leadership for the Gills side on the pitch, and I hadn't even given it a thought before, and I just thought make Gale captain because I think he's the one player, even though he's only 19, that will actually looks like he wants to tell other players to pull their finger out and do their job more. I think we've been very quiet as a club with leaders on the pitch. We had Aimer, who I rated as a player, but I didn't rate him as a captain. And now I think Gale might be the answer. That said, it doesn't help, like we've been talking about, playing him at left back. And I think he actually did finish the game as a proper left back when they brought Smith on. And for some bizarre reason, they brought Smith on played Gale at left back, and we've still got Clark sitting on the bench, which I couldn't understand. But give Gale a break. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I wouldn't argue against it, but I do fear for this team at the moment if you left him out, to be honest.
David, back to you.
Oh, thank you very much, mate. Cliff, I'll come to you for your view of the second half and what you think went wrong, and were the crowd within their rights to boo that at the end of the game?
So I think on the crowd, first of all, I think it was even in the first half when we were doing well and we'd scored a goal and we were playing well and playing winning, the atmosphere just felt a little flat. I don't know whether that was just kind of where we were, kind of off to the one of the sides of the arrangement, but compared to some other weeks where it's rocking, it's loud, it's we've got songs, the singing's going and everything. It just felt, the atmosphere just felt a bit flat even in that first half. And in terms of at the end of the game, as how it played out, say we but people pay their hard-earned money to come and go and see the team and expect a certain level of effort to be put in, and if that isn't effort isn't put in, then some people feel they're within their rights to do to voice their opinion. I'm not necessarily a massive fan of it, but I understand why it occurs, and certainly that second performance was it was, it was almost up there with the Bromley home game last season. Not quite as bad, but we ceded too much possession. We sat back too much, let them have too much of the ball. And when we did get the ball, we couldn't string more than 2 or 3 passes together at any point. And then once they got their first goal, which by the way, absolutely cracking header, it didn't feel like a kick up the arse that we were then going to go and inject a bit of life into it and buck our game up and go and crack on and win it. It felt like that was the beginning of the end, and the inevitable would happen, and it did. And kind of touched on it earlier, but does that come back to the mentality of the team in facing adversity and not being resilient enough to then turn things around when things don't go our way? But yeah, it didn't feel like we were gonna then go on to win it.
And Colin, I come to you. Your view on that second half performance, and we did a feature on last week's podcast. Fans being calm with the current run of form, where it was 1 win in 13 in all competitions, now 1 win in 14, and social media this week since the game has been quite frosty. I've seen a few comments, people even calling for Gareth's head, which that's a bit bonkers in my opinion. But in the space of a week, we've gone from calm to not so calm. Why do you think that's happened?
I think it's because the second half performance was so worrying. It's the first time in a long time we've sat down at half time and been able to enjoy ourselves, breathe a sigh of relief, talk and look back on a good first 45 minutes against a poor side who showed no sign of getting back into the game. And then we came out and played like we did in the second half. You need someone to grab the ball by the horns. You need a leader, you need a captain, someone that's going to shout. You need that. You need a little bit of guidance from the bench. And I didn't see it. I'd say, unfortunately, I'm a big fan of Gareth Ainsworth, but the substitutions, I know apparently Dak was injured. They said he took a knock and had to come off. But then I can't understand, and I know his record at Gills isn't that good, but to me, there's only one person who's going to replace Dak in that position, and that's Johnny Williams, or another attacking type player. Could be, You know, you could move McCleary in and bring Palmer Holding into play next to Nevitt. But to bring Kumbeni on, whose main attributes apparently are as a defensive player, so you then bring in another defensive player, and all of a sudden, half an hour to go, you're starting to look to hang on to what you've got. It just looked a confused mess. I, for one, wouldn't blame the players entirely. I think the effort was there. The outcome from the effort they put in didn't materialise, unfortunately. It was just a mess on and off the pitch. Hopefully it's a one-off, because I think the performances, football-wise, have improved, and we're now more competitive in games. We look more liable, like we're going to score. We make slightly more chances than we used to 12 months, 24 months ago. I'm just hoping it's a one-off and we can put it behind us. And hopefully Cambridge, when we come back on Boxing Day, have eaten too much Christmas pudding, and we haven't.
Cool. Well, that's our thoughts. Let's hear Phil's thoughts.
First half, I thought we were walking in a winter wonderland. In the second half, it wasn't the Grinch that stole Christmas, it was the Jills. That was a really disappointing display in the second half, and honestly, we were lucky to come out of this with a draw. Fingers crossed things will be better next week, and as ever, up the Jills.
And we're on to our man of the matches. Oh, Warren. Over to you, Warren. I didn't know this was coming. You've gone for Elliot Nevitt. Can you explain why?
I need to wind you up.
Yeah. Well played.
No, I actually thought Elliot never was one of three players that I would have given it to. It was either Dak, Little, or Nevitt for man of the match for me. I would have probably given it to Little, but because you was on and you're always moaning about Nevitt, I thought I'd go for Nevitt, and so I have that.
Fair enough, mate. Cliff, you've gone for Gareth McCleary.
I did, yeah. I thought there was just so many little bits of individual moments where you saw his experience, and he did show a bit of class, be it winning balls as they're coming over, or just taking that extra half second and putting not putting the obvious ball through, but making a slightly clever one that put us into good positions. It was always a bit of excitement when he got the ball in kind of those high areas, because he's got the quality to be able to make something happen. It was a close one between him and Dak for me, but I think just some of the the little individual moments of, as I say, where experience his quality kind of showed through, and we certainly missed that in the second half once him and Dak went off.
And Colin, you've gone for Bradley Dack.
I have, yeah. Most probably the best 60 minutes that we've had from him since he returned. And I think this last couple of months he's justified the club bringing him back. I thought it was as good as he looked nearly when he was the first at the club. And look what happened when he left the pitch. We just collapsed. There's no one in the club that can replace him when he plays like that. He's just a good player. He's the sort of player I like to watch, someone with more ability than work rate. Fortunately, he's got a good work rate, but he's got ability, and unfortunately at this level there's not players that have that type of ability. So yeah, Bradley Dack by a country mile.
Oh, had a glitch. I also went for Bradley Dack. I think it shows that when he went off, we just capitulated, and for the fact that I think 3 of the 4 of us have gone for a man of the match of players that only played for an hour, kind of sums up the performance overall. I think we're definitely starting to see. I don't think we're ever going to see the real Bradley Dack again. But if this version of Bradley Dack is what we can get for the remainder of his time at the Gills, I'll take that. Just looks so in control of the midfield. Everything was going through him. Barrow couldn't cope with him. And yeah, I just think if we can somehow in January find some more players that are on his wavelength, I think that would definitely help us push forward for the second half of the season. So we are back to guess who. So which Gillingham player or ex-Gillingham players played for Hartlepool, Bolton, Nottingham Forest and Grimsby Town? Do any of the panel have an idea?
Nicky Southall.
You don't want to pretend that you don't know for a little bit longer, Warren.
No.
No.
I'm glad,
Get on with it.
Glad you were so quick, Ron. I was going to say that as well, actually.
Yeah, it was the Forest one that made me think Southall, and I know he played for Bolton. I didn't realise he'd played for Hartlepool, but and that made me say Southall instead of David Perpetuini.
Perpetuini.
Looks like we've had a few correct guesses. I see Bex voted for Nicky Southall. We've had £5,000 as mentioned Nicky Southall. And who is the mystery player? It is... It will happen in a minute, I promise. Having a bit of a glitch, but it is Nicky Southall. Well done, Warren. So we will now look ahead to this week's fixture, which is away to Fleetwood Town. I don't know if any of you are going, but here are the last five for both teams. So Fleetwood have drawn one, lost, drawn one, and we are pretty consistent. Drawn. I will come to you, Warren, first. Are you going to the game, and how important is it now after that second half performance that we really go and get a victory before the Christmas period?
So, yes, I am going. I'm staying for 2 nights in the wonderful Regal Hotel in Cleveland, where men are men and women are harder. And I'm not saying it's rough around the place, but even the cats walk around with crash helmets on. I think this is an actual good game for us after Saturday, because this will show what the players' mentality actually is, whether we've got a strong mentality or whether we're weak as shit, what I think we are, right? We will, if we go out and get a result at Fleetwood, they give high winds, rain. They expect it to be bloody miserable up there on Saturday. And that's when you find where your real men are in the dressing room. When you go to places like Fleetwood, just before Christmas in December, where the wind's howling, the rain's falling, you'll see the real men stand up and be counted. Those that hide, Fleetwood's not a hiding place for those players. And I think after that game, I'll be able to tell you which players I'd keep and which players I wouldn't in January if we can get rid of a few.
Okay. Colin, I'll come to you. Is there any changes you would make to the lineup for this week's game? And you can't say all of them.
Palmer Holden I'd bring back in. And I'd bring Max Clark in at left back. And I prefer a back four anyway, but even if they play the same formation, I would bring Max Clark back in for Rowe. And perhaps play Palmer Holden and Nevitt and give one of them a bit of a roaming role, or put them both up front, might score a goal. As for the result, they've both got, looks like the Gills might draw and Fleetwood might lose, looking at those, but I'm hoping Gills get a result of some description, and perhaps just as important is an improved performance. And for the hardy few that go, I'd say good luck.
And Cliff, what are your thoughts on the game, and what do you think the reaction would be if the result doesn't go our way?
I think just in terms of where our season is at the moment, it's important. So at the moment, we've had this run of draws, but we're still 2 points off the playoff places, and so just psychologically that that helps and keeps helps keep things positive. Whereas if we go up, play poorly and lose, then all of a sudden, I mean, first of all, Fleetwood are also on this, they're on the same amount of points as we are, so they leapfrog us and go up, and other results go the other way. All of a sudden, we're 5-6 points off the playoffs, and things are starting to look a bit bleak. So I think just psychologically, in terms of where we are in terms of points on the table, it's incredibly important that we go up and come away with something, especially with the amount of games and some of the big games we've got coming up over Christmas and New Year. In terms of what I'd like to see, it depends who's fit, right? You expect Johnny Smith to be involved. If he's coming back, is he going to be ready to start? Probably not. I think if he's going with the same formation, I'd agree with Colin. I think you've got to start Clark instead of Rowe. We'll see. But I think it's a really important game.
Thank you very much. Again, I'd like to throw a shout out to our sponsors, who are Snodhurst Used Cars and Service Station and Wicked Creative, and also our partners, which is Her Game 2 and Sports Social Podcast and Network. If you're not already, why aren't you? On the Facebook group, The View from the Medway, following us on X, The View from the Medway Fancast, or at TVFTM. Also on YouTube at The View from the Medway Fancast. Before we go, is there anything that anyone wants to say?
Sorry, go on, Warren, sorry.
Yeah, this group of players need to grow some balls. I'm sorry, we've had it for 3 years, right? They need to stand up and be counted. You don't go from 21 unbeaten to winning 1 in 13 if you've got a strong mentality. I'm sorry to all those people that think we are going to make the playoffs. We're not. Not with this squad. And I think Gareth's got a massive, massive rebuilding job in the next 2 transfer windows. If we're going to get a side here that's going to get us out of this division and possibly thrive in League One, because at the moment, not one of these players will thrive in League One.
Anyone want to follow that?
No, I'd agree. I think we've touched on it a few times in terms of needing to see a better resilience and a better mentality in terms of coming back from adversity. I think this weekend will be a good starting point to see what they're made of.
Colin, anything?
I'll just go as far as to say we've bought a lot of League Two standard players in the last few years, and we've ended up with a bog standard League Two team. And to me, I think this is the only industry where you blame the workforce. I think you've got to look higher than the players. They're here earning money. They've signed for the club because the club's wanted them, and it's the club who've chosen the wrong players. And I don't think you can always blame the players. My opinion is you go higher than that. It's pointless getting rid of these players because the people that bought these players in are still here. You've got to look higher up the league for better quality players. You've either got to fund it or accept the club's going to stay where it is. But thanks for having me. I've enjoyed my first podcast anyway with you.
You can see where I get all my positivity from, can't you?
Yeah.
as always, thank you for those who have listened. We will be back at the same time next Monday, 8 p.m. Chris will be here to look back on the Fleetwood game. And as always, up the Jewels.